Hello and welcome to the post-run commentary for the current world record 80% speed run of Disco Elysium. I am Doc Wock, the runner in the video, and I'll be guiding you through the story, gameplay, routing, and any possible improvements during this run of Disco Elysium. The game starts quickly, so before we begin, let me briefly talk about the game. Disco Elysium is an indie CRPG, murder mystery whodunit type of game, released in 2019. Features no true combat, but instead focuses on large branching dialogue trees with RNG skill checks. I'll explain the rest along with the run, so with that quick introduction, let's start watching. I do apologize, but there will be no game audio for the first half, as I was streaming on Twitch at the time. So the first thing we see is the character creation screen, which features 4 major categories with 6 minor categories each. We have intelligence, psyche, physique, and motorics. We pick high intelligence and physique as this will help us overcome the most skill checks in the game. We do an additional point in shivers as our specialized skill because they're the hardest skill check. So essentially skill checks are played out like Dungeons & Dragons with 2 6-sided die. We must roll greater than or equal to the skill check's minimum, and your spec skills provide a bonus addition to that roll. There are critical successes when you roll 2 6s, which essentially ignore that minimum requirement. Here we see our main character, an unknown man who wakes up from a night of heavy alcohol and drug use with no memories of himself or his purpose. We quick save and quick load to skip the animations. We grab our pants to get our key to get us out of this room. It appears to be a hotel room. We can't quite tell. We run by this woman. We'll talk to her later. So we do another quick save, quick load to skip this pan across this room. It appears to be like a cafeteria. There's a guy at the bar. Maybe it's a reception desk. First thing we do is go over to this man and we take some pills. They're called magnesium. I'll explain that in a bit. We go over to this man. He introduces himself as Kim Kitsuragi. He's a cop. Apparently he's our partner on a detective case. And he says, "Where's your badge?" I'm only wearing pants, so no badge on me. And then he says, "Have you seen the body yet?" And we say, "No, let's go check it out." So we leave to the town of Revachol. We approach the dead body. It appears to be hanging from a tree. It's been there a while, so it smells terrible. You're hungover. You have an endurance skill check in order to be able to approach the body. We're going to take a look at the body. We notice the belt is possibly something you'd use to hold down cargo. We know there's a ship harbor nearby, so we're going to go try to talk to them. Maybe they can get the body down and have some answers about the dead man. The magnesium is a health item, essentially. You see in the bottom left, you have your health and your morale. Your morale is the blue one that sort of gets hurt when you get embarrassed or you get caught in a lie or shamed. We go to the cop car, which we assume is our partners. We grab a crowbar because we're going to use that later to bust into a sewer drain. So now we go over to the shipyard. It appears there's a lot of people fighting. This man says, "Are you a scab?" So I guess there's been some sort of strike between the union and the leadership. The door is locked over there. We can't get to the harbor, so we're going to talk to this man. His name is Musclehead. He says, "You look like garbage." We don't really take that well, and so we try to punch him, give him the old fake on the left hook, and then uppercut, and then we see we got him on the ropes. What we can do, add a little pizzazz with a skill check, and do a flying spinning kick. He's down for the count, and we're going to hit the button to go into the harbor. I will say that this game is unique as all your skills are actually features as characters inside your head. That'll speak to you and guide you throughout the game, sometimes not for the best. That time our physique skills are helping us out in the right way. We're going to go into here, grab another magnesium to heal our morale. We're going to grab a postcard, which is worth money. We're going to pawn that later. And then we head out to the harbor. We're going to talk to the union leader. He may have some answers about where the belt came from. We notice a cloak. It appears to be a cop's cloak, probably ours. We're going to want that. All your clothing actually adds bonus stats. That one adds authority. Our psych is pretty poor, meaning that we don't have very good of the purple stats, and that's going to help us for a future skill check. The pants add 1 point to electrochemistry, sort of the skill check that helps you get drugs. Drugs are going to help boost our skills later, and I'll go into that more when it comes up. We go to this fat man. He introduces himself as Everart Claire. We learn our name now is Harry Dubois, and he apparently has some info about where our gun went off to. We were very embarrassed that we lost our gun as a cop, so we had to use morale a few times, or lose morale a few times, use some magnesium to replenish it. We ask him to get the body down because his belt is the one holding it up, and he says that we should go to Musclehead to get that done. So we're gonna make our way back. Just as some basics, you can double click to run, and then you can actually double click and hold to just move the cursor along, and you'll keep running in that direction. Not a lot of time save in the intro and the harbor and the current route. There are some better ways to get the body down, specifically, I think just one other way where you actually shoot the body down. It's a very low % chance using your motoric skills, sort of your perception, dexterity set of skills, and I think it's about 17% chance. It's probably the next step in the routing of this game. It leads to a lot of early resets, though, because the time loss is just huge. Time saves maybe about 10 seconds. And so here we have a little exchange between some of the workers and the picketers. We're not very interested in that. We just want to go examine the body. We're in a bit of a hurry, so we didn't really interview the union boss at all about who the man was or anything like that. Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter to us. We're on a mission. We're going fast. When I'm holding tab, you can see that ring is around my head. Those are my skills talking to each other. It also highlights usable items. Everett gave us a check, sort of as a buy-off, sort of a bribe, and we are about to go exchange that for some money, about $25. And we're going to use that money to buy drugs and alcohol. Oh no, this is cigarettes and alcohol. Cigarettes boost our intelligence, alcohol boosts our physique. We're going to grab another magnesium because we used them all up during our ever talk. And we're going to make our way over to the bookstore now. We go over to buy a sort of fantasy novel because we'll need that in just a few minutes, but we're going to grab a map as well. We'll need that towards the end of the game. It's a map of the current town we're in, Revachol, and in the like sort of the subsection called Martinez. So if you look in your bottom right, you just missed it, but there's a time of day, and each dialogue line will advance that clock. And certain quests and interactions are only going to be available at certain times of the day. And you can't go to bed before 2100, which will be 11 p.m. We're going to go back to the body now that we got it down. We're going to take a look at it, do an autopsy report. We don't have any gloves to really touch the body, so Kim's going to do all the work for us. We don't have even a notebook to write it down, so we grab his, and then we're going to leave because we don't actually want to do the work. We just want to pawn his notebook. It has some valuable secrets that someone might want. We're going to go back into the hotel where we're staying. Now we're going to do some inventory management, put on our cloak, put on our crowbar, and now we're going to waste time. So after a lot of testing, it seems like this book was the easiest to spam through the dialogue while also advancing the clock. And if you advance the dialogue too fast and too long on the right, the game kind of lags and slows down. You can actually see the characters in the background like barely moving. So what I do is every few mashes, I'm actually exiting the dialogue option and then going back into it. And that seems to be the fastest way to do it. I haven't really necessarily found the most optimized way of doing that. There might be a better mashing technique and may depend on your computer's performance. I'm not quite sure. So we have to get to 2200 tonight in order to have a unique interaction. As you saw in the beginning, I don't know if you saw, I was quick, but our hotel room is trashed. And this man is not happy about that. And he's going to demand a lot of money from us to repair it before he'll let us go back and sleep. And so his name is Gart. He is the cafeteria manager, the sort of the receptionist. We are going to talk to him a little bit to grab a thought. These are sort of perks, in a sense, that you can research. Like your skills talked in your head, and these are thoughts that will add bonus points. There is a research bonus while you're doing it, and essentially it takes a certain amount of time for that thought to be consolidated. And then that will help us in some of the future skill checks, and I'll talk about that later. We need $150 for the hotel room. Seems like a little bit much, but Kim Kitsuragi is going to help us out. He's confiscated some spinning rims from a previous case, and he says that we could sell them for money to pay for the hotel room. So we're going to go to the car, grab those spinning rims, and make our way over to the pawn shop. We're going to need to sell a few items as well and pick up an extra drug for later. So this is our man at the pawn shop. His name is Roy, just learned that right now. We're going to grab some of his drug. Essentially Pyro is the nickname for it. And then we're going to sell our notebook and that postcard. And then we're going to peace out. We're selling these items for more than we need to pay for the damages, because we actually need to pay for another night at the hotel room tomorrow, and that's about 20 bucks. And so between the damages for 130 and the hotel room for 20, we have about 140 left over. That's all we need. So we're going to make our way back to Gart. Ooh, very laggy. I apologize. That's the streaming life. Anyways, we just pay for the damages and make our way upstairs to go to bed. We've done everything we can for the day in terms of the main quest, so we need to wait till tomorrow. Just before we get to the room, Kim wants to do a little debrief, sort of a summary of the day. What did we accomplish? What did we need to do for tomorrow? Spoiler alert, it's going to be very quick. We're going to speedrun, we don't have time to talk forever. So he lights up a cigarette. Hope you get a few puffs before we're on our way out, and that's it. You got about 2, not bad. So now we will head back to our room, and you can see the mess it's in. That's what we're paying for. And then we're gonna go to bed, crawl into the, I guess we have a pull-out sofa. We didn't bother pulling it out. We're just using the couch. And so I didn't really discuss this, but at the very beginning of the game, you have 2 extra sort of thoughts going around your head that are sort of helping guide you along the way, and this is one of them coming up. See, we see a dead body. That's ourselves actually hanging this time. We're going to talk to the dead body. That's it. The ancient reptilian brain and the limbic system sort of have a fun interaction between your primal instincts and sort of your more advanced cognition, and it's an interesting game in that sense, how they display all the dialogue. Next, we're going to level up our authority and our rhetoric. Those are going to help with future skill checks. We also just get rid of this thought that wants us to go find more drugs. We're not going to really need that. It may be useful in a future route to get the drug that the quest wants, because it is useful for a skill check, but it does waste a little time. So we're going to do another quick save, quick load to remove the panning. We're going to go to Gart, and we're going to pay off our rent for the night. We're going to go over to this woman. She won't let us approach the man we want to talk to, which is Titus. He is one of the union leaders, and we think that he has something to do with the case. He's a little bit standoffish, so we approach him very violently, sort of give more authority, and that's actually going to help us boost our future skill check. So right now we're learning about the dead body. Apparently he was a mercenary, and there's a woman upstairs that is a sex worker, and he was assaulting her, so they took him out. Simple as that. Sort of leaving out a few details. We're going to get a little more into that. We take one of our drugs to help boost our authority, and we learn a little more about the case. So we learn that the woman is Classy. That's her name. She is the woman we saw at the very beginning of the game that we ran right by. So now we're going to go up to her room to talk to her about the case. It's all very quick. I do apologize. I will say that spoilers in this game are not really that important. You know, if you still want to play the game, I don't think this is going to ruin it for you, because a lot of the game is about character development. What does your character do and respond? And I don't think that the plot necessarily tells the whole story when it comes to that aspect. So this is Classy. She was sexually assaulted by this mercenary, so we're going to ask about it. And she is a bit confused, and she says that, no, I was not assaulted. Not really sure why they said that. And so we're just asking a little more about the body, you know, what's going on, what happened. And she says that it wasn't actually that she's being assaulted, she was just performing her job, and a stray bullet came through the window of the roof, went right into her bedroom and killed him. And then the boys helped, we'll see in a moment, the boys actually helped to hang the body after the man was killed by the bullet. Sort of as a cover-up, because they're still trying to help her out. They like her. Titus says he has a tape on it that says, no, she was definitely assaulted. We're going to ignore that. It takes way too long. We're going to smoke some cigarettes to boost our logic, or no, our rhetoric, in order to get through this next skill check where we don't listen to the tape, we don't care about the evidence, just tell us it straight up. You know, what do we want to know? And we're still passing all our skill checks on the first try. That's why this is a world record run. See double sixes. Elizabeth is her name. She walks off because now that he's finally revealed the man was dead all along, there's no real reason for her to be there to protect him anymore. We know everything we need. So, I mean, they are good guys. I mean, everyone has very complicated stories when it comes to the actual game. So there's good and bad in everyone, and, you know, they were just trying to help out a friend. But we're trying to get to the bottom of this, because now we know, who, you know, they didn't hang him, so who actually killed him? So we're going to go back up to Class A. And we're going to say, you know, the boys told us everything. You lied to us. What's going on? So she says that she's actually on the run from a different town. I guess she was sort of in trouble in a different town, and she thought that maybe the person that shot through the window was actually aiming at her. And so she was just trying to protect herself. She tells us that there is another woman that helped them out, Ruby, and she's the actual leader. Titus is not, and we didn't see any Ruby in the downstairs room. So we're going to go back to Titus now to talk about that. This part does feel a little slow. It's a lot of loading screens. As far as time saves, just better dialogue options, not quick saving, just hoping you get the pass on the first try would be great. So here we have a logic check, and we're actually going to fail it on purpose. It's only 3% chance. You need double sixes no matter what, because we haven't learned anything about the case. I mean, we're totally guessing. We're shooting in the dark. And so the game actually kind of has a safe way of going through the game. I guess I'm trying to say that you can't get locked out of the main story. That if you failed this 3 times, you've tried your best with all the other quests, Kim will actually help advance the story for you, and that's how we abuse that. So even though we haven't interviewed anyone really in a meaningful way about what happened and why the Union is at war with this and why this mercenary is sort of at the center of all this conflict, we don't really care. We just want to keep going. We tell Titus to give up Ruby's location. You really need to tell us. We need to know. We're not gonna necessarily hurt her. We just want to know some information because the town is at each other's throats, and we really need to figure this out. And he seems to agree, based on the logic of that situation, that it makes sense. So now we have to waste more time because we've advanced everything in the main story that we could for the day, and we're gonna need to go to bed and wait for day 3. It is possible to pass that logic skill check with the double sixes on the first try. It's, or maybe the second try, and actually have extra skill points left over, which would be insanely helpful, but it is a 3% chance. I've had it happen before, but it was in such a bad run already, it didn't save nearly enough time. And I think this run had some pretty good skill checks coming up that it sort of negated that time save anyway. So we lost, about 30 seconds there. Just not really doing great with the dialogue options, kind of slow in the adding skill points. So now we're going to go to bed. And our thoughts are going to come back to us. The limbic system, sort of the more mature one, the ancient reptilian brain, saying let's just go primal, go primitive. Kind of giving us a little extra meaning to our lives. Here we're going to boost our shivers stat. Shivers is kind of difficult to explain. It's not a great name for it. The shivers is like your knowledge of the town, the earth, like the place around you, like how closely connected do you feel to the snow, the wind, the rain in your environment. We are just going to leave. No one to talk to today. Kim barely catches up to us. And Titus told us that Ruby fled to the west, towards the shoreline. And we had to go to bed, and we couldn't chase her that same day on day 2 because the harbor was flooded with some debris, some trash, and we couldn't get the floodgate closed in order to walk across. And that's what we're doing now, is controlling this water lock. I guess that'd be a good time to explain sort of the EXP system. You get points, experience points for completing quests and secret tasks like this water lock, or taking drugs, or interviewing certain people, and every 100 gets you 1 skill point. In a casual playthrough, you'll have tons more skill points than we currently have. So here we come and grab some motor fuel. We actually need that for later. That busted car is actually our police car. We don't know that quite yet. And we're going to go over here to this old woman. She looks like she may know something about Ruby. And so she's pretty coy about it, but she kind of hints that she may have seen her. And, oh, mess up there really badly. Wow. We are going to ask her for the key to this shack. It's another place you can stay that actually costs $0 now instead of 20, like the inn. And she sort of hinted that Ruby may have stayed there as well. So let's look for some clues in here. And what do you know? We go right for the spot where the clues are. The floorboard is hiding a 9mm bullet under it. Old woman probably doesn't have a bullet. Or a gun, I mean. So we'll go back to the old woman, confront her with our new evidence. She says fine, but she's a good woman, don't hurt her, I messed up a little there. I got lost in one of the dialogue trees, it looked. So now we're gonna run over here. On the way, we're gonna grab this item, some more magnesium. We're gonna need that for the last couple areas of the game. We go over to this mural of an old electrical building. It had a bunch of computers in there, and we say, could Ruby be hiding in this building? Maybe. So we're gonna drink some beer to boost our physique. That actually takes a hit of morale and gives us 30 experience points. And now we're gonna use our shiver stat on this mural. This is probably the biggest choke point of the game. It's gonna take me a few tries because I think it's about 17% chance to get the roll you need, and we're gonna have to do it twice. So obviously time save, definitely getting on the first try. If you pick up a different drug earlier, you can respec in a way that would make this go from a 17% to about a 28% chance. It's hard to get above 28 without some really good luck. But 17 to 28 definitely adds some consistency in a speed run. It's kind of frustrating to have a really good run that dies here. I mean, I've had it where it took 20 tries to get through this. I think I'm at 4 right now. There we go. So we say, she might be in there, but let's ask around more. And we say, no thank you. Let's keep trying at it. And so didn't get it that time. Yeah, losing a little time here. You can see on the live split on the left. I think if you get it perfect, it just saves a ton of time. It's just hard to get it perfect. And I think at this point we can actually put the game audio back on. So let's listen a little bit. Pause the music over here. And we're going to listen to some of the game audio now. I will warn you, coming up, there's a pretty loud section. And there we go. Double sixes. I didn't notice that the first time. And now we say we're going to find a way into this building because we're pretty sure she's got to be here. If you played the game casually, you would have explored the other places. But as a speedrun, we're going to skip all that. And here we need to put what point of perception in order to look at this sewer pipe that we're going to try to bust through with our crowbar. Get under the building. You can also go on top of the building, but it's a much harder skill check. That was weird. I pulled up the map for a half a second. I'm not sure. That was a little bit of a bug. And so we think Ruby is in here, and she's the key to figuring out this murder mystery because she helped hang the body. It was kind of her idea. She has a device that's projecting sort of mystic energy. It would take a bit to explain. I'll just say you play the game, but that's all you need to know. Anyways, Ruby doesn't really have a lot of information, and she's not willing to give it up easily. She has a gun, so we just let her go. We're going to go over to her little makeshift tent. She left behind her journal, and so conveniently enough, we can read the journal and look at just the last entry that says, why'd she run? And she says that, I believe talking to Classier, she figured out a lot of her past. She figured out the mercenary is part of actually a pretty important group. Very elite mercenary. And his teammates are not pleased with the way his body has been treated. And she says that there was going to be a bloodbath soon. They were sort of at that point. that they're going to try to find some answers with violence. So now we have to make our way back to the hotel. I believe it's called Whirling in Rags. I'm not 100% sure. After you speedrun a game a lot, it kind of becomes difficult to remember like the little details of the plot when I'm mashing through things. But I mean, my first playthrough is probably about 25 hours in the casual game, so 30 minutes is pretty good so far. So Kim and I are gonna head over, and we see something's happening. Looks like the mercenary team is confronting the Union side, Titus and the boys, and we're not very useful whatsoever. I immediately provoke the other side, trying to kill them. I yell something into that matter. And good thing I have a lot of physique, because I just got shot. And then Kim, my boy, he takes out one of the shooters. And then this guy, that looks like the leader maybe, he's aiming right at us, and I just let him shoot. And so this is kind of our epiphany. We're at rock bottom, having gotten shot a bunch, and I let the mercenary leader shoot Kim. It's the fastest way to have no partner. And so he gets wheeled off in the ambulance. You can hear that happening. And I wake up with this little boy. If you play the game casually, you'd actually learn about him, and he would become kind of your friend in a weird way. But because we didn't, he's kind of randomly here. And he's trying to help us out. He wants to become our partner. I say, no way. And then he gives us a little information about what we should do next. Said that Class A left us something in her bedroom to help with the case. And he also tells us that Kim was rushed to the hospital. He's in critical condition, but not dead. And so we're going to go up to her bedroom right now. And she has conveniently put a line between where the bullet entered the window and where it hit the wall. And we're going to use our skill to sort of extrapolate that based on the map that we bought very early. Yes, the map is coming back now, 30 minutes later. And we see there's really only one place it could be coming from, which is this island off the shore that no one lives at. It's abandoned, and we're not really sure, what's going to be there. And how do we get there? We need a boat from the shore. I think when we ran by, we saw there was a boat over there, so we're going to make our way that way. So now we have no partner, no Kim, no Kuno. This little boy's name. It is the fastest. And now we have kind of a long run. I have tried the other language. I think it's simplified Chinese through the dialogue options, but it's not faster from what I've noticed, especially in the way that the wasting time with the reading, it's not faster at all in that sense. And it's very difficult to find yourself once you get lost in a dialogue tree. If you make one wrong step, everything's in Chinese. It's really hard to tell how to get back. So English is fine. Maybe if they release other languages. Oh gosh, autosave, that happens. Does waste a little time, not a big deal. Yeah, if there's other languages, maybe they'd be faster and a little more readable for someone that knows English and the smallest amount of Spanish. So we talked to Lily. She's going to let us borrow her boat. And so if you're playing the game casually, with your partner Kim, this would be kind of a somber moment leading up to the penultimate area. We're going to find who did in the murder mystery. And you play some music on a jukebox. You play Sad FM. And it kind of is a nice, poignant moment for you to reflect and think. In a speedrun, obviously, not great. It does not have that sort of meaning. It's essentially I think 2.5 minute boat ride that we just sit here and listen. So if you want to skip ahead about 2 minutes, that is totally fine. Otherwise, I will try to think of something to say while we listen to this. Yeah, the game is actually really great in its art style. Everything is beautiful. The music is well crafted. I believe it won a few BAFTAs, the British Game Awards, for like best narrative, best indie. I think it was nominated for some artistic direction ones. I don't think it ended up winning. I would highly encourage you to play this game casually. It's really fun and very interesting. The dialogue can definitely seem like a lot. I know for some people that work and then come home, it's like the last thing you want to do is just read forever. But I will say that it's structured in a way that really keeps it interesting, and it's just a fun game, and it really does play off some of the traditional gameplay elements. I would say that save scumming is definitely not encouraged in this game, whereas it feels like it should be, but most of those failed skill checks are actually more interesting than the completed ones. And so it's kind of fun to fail it and just let your character be like whatever you want it to be. You can design your character to be whoever you want. And you can repeat the skill checks by doing quests and leveling up that stat, and it never really hurts your progression too much, but it's really fun. I mean, one of my favorite skill checks failures is at the very beginning of the game. And it does discuss a lot of, I don't know, interesting topics to me, sort of politics and religion and how that affects the town and the people, and a lot of elements of racism, and your character is just kind of at rock bottom. It's just interesting to see how you want to deal with that depression, and you can do it in so many different ways. Almost at the end of the boat ride. I know it was fun, but let's get back to the speed run. We're not really sure what this is yet. It's just sort of a building. We can't quite tell what exactly is going on. So we see a motor here. We picked up that fuel a long time ago. It can actually be put in to the motor to kind of power up the lights in the room, as well as this locked door on the left. We're going to grab some more magnesium because our character has not done a lot of the quests that is going to help with the end of the game. So here we're going to open a blast door. After that boat ride, this feels like just an instant. Even though it's about 10-15 seconds, I don't know. You see a lot of times I'm sort of placing my cursor in a way that after I finish the dialogue, it's going to help me move to the next area as quickly as possible. And that's definitely something that can be optimized further. So here we are, maybe this is like an abandoned fort, we're not really sure. And here is our man, Mr. Jaros. It looks like just a lonely old man. He has a sniper rifle, which we see is probably the murder weapon. And we talked to him a little bit, and he's actually an old member of like the Revolutionary War that just never realized the war was over. And oh, that was a mistake there. You don't need to take damage there. He never really realized the war was over, so he's been living on this island, like at the outpost, for as long as I don't know, as long as the war has been ended. So I think it's like a few decades. I'm not really quite sure. And he tells us he did in fact kill the mercenary. He got attracted to the Classier, the woman. He did not appreciate her line of work and was a little jealous. And he said, "Do I still got it in me? Let me try to hit this shot." Obviously, I think I'm ignoring the giant stick monster. If you play the game, it makes sense, but I mean, in a speedrun, it's impossible to explain fully. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And apparently, it's been sort of muddling his mind. You know, he's not crazy. I think this giant stick creature, kind of fantastical being, has been confusing him and making him kind of crazy. And we just talked to him there, and he's very dazed, doesn't really know what's going on. Now that the bug is left, he's kind of coming back to reality slowly. And so we have all we need. You know, in the murder mystery who done it, it's not quite like Dwight Schrute, the most medium suspect. It's sort of a curveball, you know. Out of left field, you can't possibly suspect this. But once again, you know, it's about the story of your own character. The plot itself is just a pushing force for your character. So now we're almost at the end. We just have this little final segment where our old partners from the Force come back to tell us that this was a test, that they've been watching us. If you play the game casually, these characters kind of appear throughout the game. You don't really know who they are because you've lost your memory. And they were disguised, and they're asking us right now, sort of, and we back up to it. Can we lead again? Can we be a detective? And we did no quests, so we have no badge, no gun. We drove our car into the river. We did not do well with Class A. She fled the scene. We don't even have her anymore. We figured out the killer, so that's something. Not bad. But we really didn't do great. And so we just say, nice, not too bad. We just say that, you know, it's over. We're not going to be a cop anymore. And that ends the game as quickly as possible. I guess you'd call that the bad ending. I'm not really sure there's a good ending or a bad ending, because that's sort of the point of the game. So there's definitely some better routing changes. We're not going to watch the credits about to end. There's definitely some better routing changes possible. And I think you'll see in the future some routing changes come up in terms of getting the body down quicker, advancing the dialogue skill checks a little better. The the feminist thought that we picked up from Gart really early on, I know you won't quite remember, wasn't very useful. It doesn't seem to work properly in the game. It's a bug that it's supposed to give you +2 authority. To Titus doesn't quite work to help boost that skill check. We got it the first try anyway, so it really doesn't matter. And I think from now on I'm going to be skipping that in the route. So if you enjoyed it, you know, I do stream occasionally, not very often, but I'll be trying to post some more runs, certainly with the new routing. And if I feel like there's a good enough difference between the two, I'll try to do another commentary. But this is just sort of a live, you know, train of thought discussion about what I thought of the run. And I haven't watched it in a little bit, so it was definitely interesting for me to see where I messed up and what I can improve on. Well, I hope you liked it. This was the Disco Elysium Any Percent World Record Run by Doc Wock and myself. So thank you and have a good day.